Imagine this. There's only 1 week left until you walk down the aisle, wearing a gorgeous white dress, smiling beside the man you love with all your heart. Then, out of nowhere, your fiancé sends you an Instagram account and says sweetly, "This is my cousin. You need a bridesmaid, right? Let her do it." You agree happily. But at the bachelorette party, when she gets drunk and throws her arms around you, whispering because she thinks you're him, "I don't want to be a bridesmaid. I want to be the bride. Can we switch?" Those words feel like a blade, stabbing right into your heart, ripping your whole dream apart. What would you do if you found out this close relative is actually a predator circling your place? My real story starts here. I am Jessica, and our wedding is just a week away. Tonight's party was just a small gathering with close friends. David kissed my forehead. "Can you keep an eye on Sarah for me?" he said, draping my coat over my shoulders like it was nothing. "I have to take my drunk buddies home." He struggled to help two stumbling friends out the door, leaving me with a glass of cold water, and Sarah, his cousin, slumped on the couch, eyes unfocused, swirling a half-full glass of wine in her hand. I walked into the living room, holding the glass of water to give to her. Sarah looked up, hair a mess, lipstick smeared bright red. Before I could say a word, she lunged forward and hugged me tightly, reeking of alcohol. "David!" she whispered, her voice soft like velvet but sharp like a knife. "Are we really out of chances?" I froze. She clutched me tighter, her face buried in my shoulder. "I don't want to be the bridesmaid." "I want to be the bride. Can we switch?" My mind went blank, like the floor had collapsed under me. Switch, switch the bride. I kept repeating those words, each one cutting deeper than the last. Sarah is David's cousin, right? That's what he told me 2 weeks ago, when I was panicking after one of my bridesmaids dropped out because she got pregnant. I'd thought about hiring a professional bridesmaid, but then David sent me Sarah's Instagram link. "Honey," he said over the phone, "she's my cousin." "Let her be your bridesmaid, okay?" I asked again, suspicious. "Aren't you an only child?" "What cousin?" He laughed, calm as a breeze. "Cousin," he said. I nodded, reassured, and welcomed Sarah like a little sister. I bought her the dress, gave her lipstick, mascara, even satin shoes to match the bridesmaid look. She always smiled and said, "David's lucky to marry someone as pretty as you." But now, wrapped in her drunk arms, all those words feel like lies. She mumbled, lips near my neck. "Your scent is so nice. I want to stay in your arms forever." Then, like twisting the knife even deeper, just like that winter. What winter? I didn't dare to think. My head spun, trying to put the pieces together. David's coat was on my shoulders, the scent of his cologne still fresh, the dim light above us. She thought I was him, or did she know I wasn't? The door swung open. David stepped in, breath short like he'd just run a long way. He glanced at me, then at Sarah, still leaning against the sofa. Without hesitation, he picked her up like something fragile. "I'll take her home first," he said, not meeting my eyes, his voice flat like reading a script. "Can you get a ride home on your own?" My heart clenched, a sharp pain pressing into my chest like someone had their hand around it. "David," I said, my voice trembling, trying to stay calm. "I've been drinking too. Are you sure you want to leave me here alone?" He frowned, glancing at me like I was being unreasonable. "Sarah's drunk like this. What, you want me to just leave her?" Before I could respond, he added, "All right then, I'll ask Lucas to take you home." He didn't drink tonight. With that, he turned and walked out with Sarah in his arms. I saw it clearly. Her head resting against his neck, her long hair brushing him back and forth, deliberately. Her eyes were barely open, just a sliver of light showing, and her lips curled into a smile. At me. She wasn't drunk. She was pretending. I stood frozen in place for a long time. Tonight was supposed to be our bachelor party. His close friends, a few of mine, all gathered, laughing. In the middle of it, some tipsy friends chanted, "Kiss! Kiss!" David hugged me and gave me a deep kiss, his lips warm and steady. "Jessica," he whispered, "I finally get to marry you." In that moment, I believed I'd chosen the right man. But then Sarah pulled him up to sing, hugging him in front of everyone, her arm wrapped around his waist, smiling brightly. I thought she was just a cousin, just innocent closeness. When he said he was taking her out to sober up, I nodded. When he came back with her lipstick smudged, I didn't question it. But within just a few hours, everything had flipped. I was trapped in a mess of thoughts I couldn't escape. Lucas appeared in the doorway, leaning in, voice lazy. "Jessica, ready to go?" I looked up, then followed. In the car, I stayed silent, watching the city lights flick past the window. My mind was a storm, unable to make sense of Sarah's words or David's actions. The car stopped under my building, but the door didn't open. I pulled the handle, once, twice, still locked. "We're here," I said, turning to Lucas. He stared at me, eyes full of something, worry, frustration, maybe pity. After a long pause, he rolled down the window, lit a cigarette, smoke curling into the small space. "Jessica," he said in a low voice, "are you really that naive?" I was speechless. "Aren't you going to ask me what David and Sarah really are?" Lucas was David's best friend, grew up with him. He knew everything. My heart clenched again, but I deflected. "What are you talking about?" "She's his cousin, isn't she?" I was lying to myself, scared of the truth. Lucas let out a bitter chuckle, taking a long drag, smoke blurring the air. "Same last name, so that makes them cousins for sure," he said slowly, each word landing like a hit to the head. "That excuse, David's been using it for years." He started talking, voice calm but cold. David and Sarah had known each other since middle school, more than 10 years. Sarah was wild, like a boy, quickly became close with David's group. They hung on each other, shared meals, even slept over. No sense of gender boundaries. The ambiguity was obvious to anyone. It wasn't just friendship. When people teased them, "Why don't you just date already?" David would laugh dismissively. "How could I like some stiff tomboy?" "I only go for girls who are sexy but sweet." Sarah, maybe out of pride, would fire back. "The kind of girl you like would rather like me than you." Back then, she had short hair, wore unisex clothes. But the summer before senior year, she transformed, grew her hair, wore dresses, became feminine. The group teased her for being two-faced. Only David defended her. "A girl like this, isn't she perfect?" From then on, every time David had a girlfriend, he'd say, "Sarah's just my cousin." But he'd still pat her head, hug her, never drawing a line. Lucas looked at me, his eyes full of pity. "Jessica, you really bought that? He said she was a cousin and you just believed him? You're engaged. Has he even taken you to meet his family?" My tears finally fell, one by one, unstoppable. "That's enough!" I shouted, turning to the window, biting my lip hard. Lucas shifted awkwardly, voice softening. "Don't cry. I just didn't want to see you being fooled anymore." I turned back to him, letting out all my anger. "So what, you been watching me like some joke? If you wanted to say something, why wait until now?" He froze, eyebrows tight, then relaxed, eyes hesitant. After a while, he said quietly, "What if I told you I liked you?" I let out a bitter laugh. throat tight. Unlock the door. Lucas didn't stop me. He hit the button. I stumbled out, the alcohol burning my brain, legs shaky. When I got back to the apartment, it was completely dark. David wasn't home yet. I sat on the sofa, digging through my memories. 5 years with David. We fought. We had loud arguments. But never once did I think about breaking up. The worst fight we ever had, to make it up to me. He tattooed my name on his chest, a small flower with a flowing letter J. It's the closest spot to my heart, he said, his eyes lighting up. I'll love you forever. I knew that spot hurt like hell to tattoo, and even harder to erase. I was touched, moved, and even thought about getting one for myself. But he didn't agree. Be good, he said, stroking my hair. It hurts a lot to remove it. I'm just afraid. If one day we break up, your next boyfriend might feel weird about it. I pointed to his chest and joked, but you can't erase yours either. Wouldn't your next girlfriend mind? He looked at me seriously, eyes steady. If we break up, I won't have another girlfriend. I was so sure of my love for him, just as sure that he loved me deeply. But I never thought Sarah would ever exist in our love story. I sat on the sofa for 2-3 hours, streetlights flickering through the window, casting blinking shadows on the wall like the rhythm of a lonely heartbeat. It wasn't until near dawn that David came home. The door opened, light switched on, and he jumped slightly when he saw me. You're still up? Waiting for me? His voice was soft, but not like usual. He didn't come hug me. He walked straight to the bedroom, grabbed clothes, and started getting ready for a shower. I frowned, followed him, and saw. His t-shirt was on backwards. He didn't look at me, avoiding my eyes. I reek of smoke. It's disgusting. Let me shower first. The bathroom door slammed shut. The sound of water rushed out loud and sharp. I stood outside, heart pounding, feeling like it was being squeezed tight. He looked guilty, like a thief caught in the act. But I had no proof. Only suspicion. Sharp and piercing, stabbing through every breath. My phone buzzed. A message from Sarah. A photo? Her and David in an intimate pose. His arm wrapped around her waist, her eyes beaming at him, smiling brightly on a bed. My fingers trembled as I read the line beneath it. Wanna place a bet? Bet that on your wedding day, if I try to steal the groom, who he'll choose. I stared at the photo, unable to move. Only 7 days left until the wedding, but the love I was once so sure of now felt like shattered glass, every piece slicing into my heart. I sat on the balcony, a glass of wine in hand, the streetlights casting a cold glow across my face. I took a sip, the bitterness sliding down my throat as I tried to gather my thoughts. David stepped out from the bathroom, white robe hanging loose, wet hair dripping. He wrapped his arms around my waist from behind, his breath warm but distant. Honey, he whispered, I love you. The words felt weightless, like a bandage for guilt. I turned to face him, lifted his chin, brushed my nose gently against his, eyes locked into his. My hand slipped inside his robe, slid down, testing his reaction. He grabbed my hand, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes, gone in a second. Too tired tonight. Let's not, he said, voice strained. He nibbled my ear, like trying to distract me. You just wait. After the wedding, I'll get back at you for teasing me like this. I didn't say a word, just stood there, my hands cold as ice. He turned away, walked to the bed. Baby, I'm gonna sleep first. I'm really exhausted. The lights were still on, but fake snoring started echoing, as staged as everything else he'd done tonight. Before, whenever I teased David, he could never resist. Even after long hikes, he'd still pin me to the bed, laughing. I really need to punish you tonight. But today, nothing. No reaction. I knew. The photo Sarah sent. It was real. After 5 years with him, I could tell. I sat back on the balcony, wide awake, eyes fixed on Sarah's message. Wanna bet? On the wedding day, if I try to steal the groom, who will he choose? Every word sliced into me like a knife. I scrolled through Sarah's Instagram, really looking for the first time. The day David sent me her profile, he'd gone to the airport to pick her up. A selfie. She sat in the passenger seat, pulling on David's ear, grinning, a faint red mark on her neck. The day I took her to try on bridesmaid dresses, she secretly slipped into my wedding gown. When I caught her, she stuck her tongue out. Oops, sorry, it's just so pretty. He picked it for you, huh? I felt uneasy but nodded. That night, she posted a status. No photo, just words. He once said he wanted to personally pick out my wedding dress and see me happy beside my husband. But what if the husband I want is him? A few days before the bachelor party, David proposed unexpectedly by the ocean, fireworks bursting in 7 colors. Sarah posted a cropped photo. Are these colors meant for me? I zoomed in. In the corner, David was staring at her, not at me. The night air on the balcony cut deep, no glass shield, wind slicing through me like it wanted to freeze my blood. The night dragged endlessly. I felt, for the first time, what it truly meant. I stood the whole night out there, the wine glass bone dry, my mind racing through reckless thoughts. Jump off, end everything? Wake David up and scream? Call Sarah and cuss her out? Or go through with the wedding like nothing happened? I thought it through over and over, fingers swiping through my phone, opening her message. I typed back, voice cold. Not interested. Trash like him. He's yours. I hit send. Locked the screen. The streetlight flickered against the empty glass. David never knew when I left the house. Near noon, he texted, "Did you go to work already?" I didn't reply. I was standing in front of the director's office, holding my resignation of marriage leave form. I knocked, stepped in. His eyes squinted, serious. Jessica, are you kidding me? The Milan branch wants to proceed. I thought you already declined. Now you want to go? Our company was collaborating with a jewelry design studio in Milan. They wanted us to set up a branch, and my boss once intended to send me. No one else gives me peace of mind, he had said, but I had turned it down. David and I have set a wedding date, I said back then. We want to have kids soon. Going to Milan will make it hard to come back. My boss tried to convince me not to sacrifice such a rare opportunity for family. I naively replied, family is the most important thing to me. In the end, he just sighed and said nothing more. Before knocking on his door today, I was still nervous. But the more annoyed he acted, the more I understood. He'd already agreed, just pretending to be strict so I wouldn't take things lightly. I smiled, placed the cancellation form on his desk. Boss, please sign this for me. He grumbled, signing as he asked, You've discussed this with your family? Ready to focus on work now? I calmly replied, There's no more family. I'm not getting married. He stared at me for a long time, startled, then without a word picked up the phone to Milan, right in front of me. About the new branch. We're ready to discuss. I'll send Jessica Evans. He turned, looking at me, waiting for a response. I got the message instantly and said, 7 days from now. He nodded and continued on the call. She'll arrive in 7 days. 7 days from now was supposed to be the day David and I got married. Before I left the office, my boss called out, pulled a gift box from under the table. Even the wrapping screamed expensive. Originally meant to be a wedding present, he said. Now consider it a congratulations on your promotion. I smiled, took it, hands gripping the box tightly. Near the end of the workday, David called. Are you done yet? I'll come pick you up for dinner, I replied flatly. No need, then hung up. He texted back, voice clearly angry. What's your deal? A string of question marks. I didn't answer. I carried a few boxes down to the parking lot. The apartment David and I shared was a rental, not the new home. We'd agreed, after the wedding at the hotel, we'd move into the new place. Most of our stuff had already been moved. I parked under the building, looked up, and suddenly everything felt like a dream. A bachelorette party to mark the end of single life. And now I was truly single again. I carried the box into the elevator. The doors opened. A voice sensor chimed. Welcome home, beautiful lady. David's voice. Recorded long ago. Every time I stepped in, the whole apartment would light up. We once argued over whether we should use a tablecloth. We cold warred for a day over choosing a white or brown sofa. Next to the computer desk, he had arranged a corner just for me to paint. He once said, even if we're both busy with work, I still want to be next to you. I won't deny, David had plenty of flaws, and those flaws brought storms to our relationship constantly. But I still loved him. I loved the way he loved me. Loving him gave me a home, a family. But my love has limits. It must be whole, clean. Standing at the door, heart-wrenching, I forced myself to step inside. Every item I packed away was a sealed piece of memory. No more fights. No more cold wars. I had to pull myself out of David's world. I sat in the middle of the empty apartment. Everything had been packed, just waiting for the movers. My phone buzzed. A message from Lucas with a video clip. The screen was pitch black, only audio, clearly recorded in secret. David's voice snarled through, sharp and bitter. Damn it. I've been so good to Jessica. Why the hell doesn't she appreciate it? You guys know why she flipped out on me today? Just because I didn't touch her last night. My heart clenched. That familiar numb pain spreading through my body like I was being crushed from the inside. My fingers tightened around the phone. Loud laughter burst out from the video, stabbing into my ears like knives. Then Sarah's voice, sweet but filthy, mocked. Didn't think she'd be that hard to satisfy. Another round of crude laughter, digging straight into my chest. Lucas added, he treats you like this and you still want to marry him? I didn't reply. That wedding, obviously, would never happen. But I hadn't yet figured out when or how to have the final conversation with David. And after hearing those words, I knew. I didn't owe Lucas any explanation either. My phone buzzed again. Another video from Lucas. This time, Sarah spoke first, smooth and calculated. Babe, with the way she dared to talk back to you like that, aren't you going to teach her a lesson? If you let it slide until after the wedding. I held my breath. Even if my feelings for David had already dried up, I still needed to hear how he'd respond. His voice followed, cold, without a second of hesitation. You're right. I'll just ignore her for the next few days. Her mom's dead anyway. Her dad can't stand her. Who else does she even have but me? Her mom's dead. That one sentence grew bones and teeth, turning into a massive hand that wrapped around my heart and crushed every beat into pulp. Someone once said, the person who loves you most also knows how to hurt you the deepest. If this is how David chose to treat me, if I didn't send him one last gift, I'd be betraying myself and everything I ever gave him. I pulled myself together, took a deep breath, my hands trembling as I held my phone. I called every relative who was supposed to attend the wedding, telling them they didn't need to come anymore. Ever since my mom passed and my dad remarried, Our family ties had faded, so the calls didn't take long. Right then, the moving company truck arrived, its engine rumbling outside the door. I stood up, pointed them to the packed boxes, giving directions with the kind of finality that felt like cutting off a piece of my life. I drove ahead. They followed. To the apartment my boss was letting me use. He had several properties, and since I'd be going to Milan soon, he told me not to stay at a hotel, just use this empty place for a few years to store my things. I nodded without hesitation. As I was unloading the boxes into the new apartment, my phone kept buzzing nonstop. David was calling, his name flashing across the screen. I let out a dry laugh, my throat bitter. Didn't he just say he was going to ignore me? Why call now? I didn't pick up. He sent a voice message, his voice hoarse, fake broken. Honey, what did I do wrong? Can you please tell me? You being silent like this. It's really killing me. I'll listen to you. I'll change. Okay? I drank too much. I just want to see you. I shook my head, swiped past the screen. Another voice message. This time it was Sarah. Jessica, don't worry. He has me to take care of him now. I laughed coldly, turned off the phone and tossed it aside. Honestly, during the years I spent with David, things like this had happened before. He liked showing off in front of his friends, and sometimes his careless words would really hurt me. When I confronted him, we'd argue hard. He'd try to smooth it over. Come on, you know me better than that. I only act macho out there, but at home, I'm scared of you, aren't I? He wrote piles of promises, stacked high in a drawer, but rarely ever changed. Back then, I didn't understand my mom when she said, "Love doesn't matter. What matters is the person. Now I get it. You have to marry someone decent, not just someone who says they love you." As the wedding date neared, I was drowning in preparations for Milan. My schedule was packed. I barely had room in my head to think about David. But he kept texting like nothing had happened. I went to see the venue today. The flower arrangements look great, no issues. Here are a few floral options. Which one do you like best? The hotel's preparing a luxury honeymoon suite. If Sarah hadn't sent me those messages, I might have almost believed he was a man seriously planning our wedding. She texted, "David's mom came over today for lunch." She mistook me for the daughter-in-law. Isn't that funny? I went to check out the honeymoon suite. It's gorgeous. Wonder who'll be in it, me or you? I looked at them like a joke, feeling nothing. 3 days before the wedding, Lucas showed up outside my office, leaning against his car, eyes fixed on me. I tried to ignore him and walk past, but he called out loudly, "If you don't want me to drop to one knee and confess right here, just talk to me for a minute." I frowned, annoyed, but nodded. We walked into a nearby park, the red sunset pouring through the trees, wind blowing my hair wild. "Lucas, just say what you need to say," I said coldly. He hesitated, face uncertain. "Give me one reason. Why, after everything, are you still choosing David? What does he have that I don't?" I didn't expect this lame move from him. I let out a dry laugh. "What, you think this is some romance drama? You expose David as a jerk, toss out a few lines about how you like me, and you suddenly get to be the replacement male lead? Wake up, David isn't a good man, but you're no better. If you really cared about me, why didn't you say something from the moment Sarah added me as a friend? You waited, let her make her move, pushed me to the edge, just so you could show up as some hero hoping I'd fall for you. If you truly loved someone, why didn't you stop David when he badmouthed me? Why just secretly send 2 voice clips, never daring to show your face? Yeah, I was blind to choose David, but that doesn't mean I'm stupid. I don't need rescuing from some guy. Lucas, I turned and walked off. His face darkened, and he grabbed my wrist, trying to pull me in for a kiss. I swung my purse and slammed it against his head, the crack loud and sharp. Then I kneed him hard in the gut. He doubled over, crumpled to the ground, face pale. "David didn't tell you?" I said, voice like ice. "After my mom died, I took up martial arts." You say you like me and you don't even know that? Trash. I walked away, the blazing sunset at my back, the wind roaring like it was sweeping away every last piece of the past. In the early morning on my wedding day, I sat at the airport with my headphones in. The earliest flight to Milan was ready for boarding. On the way there, my phone had buzzed nonstop. David was texting and calling like crazy. Where are you? You've made a mess. This is too much. If you don't show up now, do you still want to get married or not? Send me your location. I'll come pick you up. All our friends and family are here today. Don't be unreasonable. Jessica, whatever the issue is, can't we deal with it after the ceremony? Sarah messaged too. Pretty slick move. Planning to show up at the last minute, aren't you? I let out a dry laugh, staring at the screen. Those two were honestly made for each other. Two terrible people. Don't drag anyone else down with you. I turned on airplane mode. Soft music played in my ears. My mood was strangely calm. The plane crossed half the globe and landed in Milan. I turned airplane mode off. My phone exploded with notifications. 82 missed calls. 206 unread messages. I separated out the work-related ones, replied quickly, and texted my boss. I've landed safely. He called instantly, laughing loudly. Well done, Jessica. I thought you just canceled the wedding. Didn't expect you to vanish on your wedding day. The whole company group chat is buzzing about it. I burst out laughing, equal parts triumphant and amused, my voice echoing in the new apartment in Milan. Boss, didn't think you'd be one for gossip, I teased. He got serious again. If anything comes up in Milan, you come straight to me. I nodded, even though he couldn't see. After we hung up, the phone buzzed again, David calling. I accidentally tapped answer. He was silent for a few seconds, then screamed, Jessica, where the hell are you? I pulled the phone away from my ear, thought for a second, then said flatly, I'm in Milan. Silence. Neither of us said anything. Just as I was about to hang up, he asked, voice trembling, You're really in Milan? What's the meaning of this? Why are you doing this to me? I laughed bitterly, voice cold. What do you think it means? I don't want to be with you. That means we're over. He was stunned, then snapped, Over? Why? You're breaking up without even telling me? I replied coolly, Did you tell me when you were sneaking around behind my back? Then why should I tell you when I leave? Actually, I did tell you. You just didn't pay attention. I hung up. Back in the bedroom of our old apartment, I had already taken a knife and slashed our wedding photo to pieces. That counts as a notification, doesn't it? I opened Instagram and posted the PowerPoint I'd prepared. Every screenshot of Sarah's texts, along with the 2 black screen recordings from Lucas, were there. The post title, A Wedding Gift for My Ex and His Best Friend. I tagged David and Sarah, fingers moving fast, precise. Once posted, I blocked them, then unfollowed and removed everyone connected to David. My phone felt lighter, so did I. The light from Milan streamed through the window, gentle, fresh. I stood up and walked out of the past, without looking back. Work in Milan flowed like a dream. My performance earned the affection of my colleagues here. They smiled often, shared ideas, and welcomed me fully into this new rhythm of life. The apartment was bright. The cobbled streets of Milan smelled of morning bread. If it weren't for David showing up out of nowhere, I might have felt more at peace. Somehow, he found my address. Coming home from work, I saw him standing at the door under the hallway light. He looked thinner, dark circles under his eyes, a healing scar on his chin, the aftermath of his fight with Lucas at the wedding hotel. I frowned, fingers tightening around my keys. You're standing in front of my door. Move! He didn't budge. Jessica, give me a chance. Just let me explain. I cut him off, no hesitation. Okay, I'll give you a chance to not end up in the hospital. Step aside right now, he stammered, lips moving but no words coming out, feet still planted. I started getting irritated, my grip on the keys sharp with tension. Sensing I was losing patience, he rushed out, voice trembling. Jessica, please believe me, there was nothing between me and Sarah. The only person I've ever loved is you. If I really liked her, I'd be with her by now. Why would I wait? I interrupted, voice like a blade. But you slept with her. His face twisted, desperate to explain, but his eyes darted away. Silent. David, I continued, you slept with someone you didn't even like. That makes me lose all respect for you. I don't think we have anything left to say. Can you stop showing up in my life? He stood there, eyes full of disbelief, as if he couldn't accept that I could be this cold. He mumbled, voice barely there. I didn't let him finish. Yes, I don't love you anymore. When I look at you, all I feel is disgust. There's no going back. I used to love you, truly. But I admit now, I was blind. I don't want trash in my life anymore. I deserve better. Is that clear enough? I stepped forward, shoved him aside, shoved the key into the lock. The cold click of metal turning echoed in the silence. David just stood there, stunned, his eyes dull like all the words had been drained out of him. Heavy footsteps echoed from the end of the hallway. William appeared, followed by 2 building security guards. Jessica, are you okay? William asked, voice deep and calm, his eyes shifting from me to David. I froze, hand still on the key. Why are you up here? William was the Milan director. Lately, he'd been casually kind, inviting me to coffee, leaving small bouquets outside my office. Just earlier, he'd dropped me off. I told him no need to come up, assumed he'd driven away. William stepped closer, hands in his coat pockets, voice gentle but firm. I noticed your lights were still off and got a little worried. The hallway light fell across his face, soft edges, eyes glowing with quiet care. David suddenly snapped, his voice bitter with jealousy. Who the hell is he? I turned, glanced at him, lips curling into a cold smile. None of your business. Without waiting for a response, I turned to the guards and said a few words. They nodded, stepped forward. One placed a hand on David's shoulder, motioning for him to leave. David stepped back, eyes still fixed on me, but he didn't resist. His footsteps faded down the hallway. I turned back to William, smiled softly. Thanks. Want to come in for a bit? He nodded, eyes lighting up, and followed me inside. Warm light from the wide windows filled the space. The streets of Milan shimmered under the golden sunset. William sat on the sofa politely, hands resting gently on his knees, as if careful not to disrupt the space I'd reclaimed. We talked a little about work, the cobbled streets, the smell of morning coffee. His voice was soft, like a breeze through Milan's narrow alleys. I sat across from him, cradling a warm glass of water, heat seeping into my palms. I wondered if William intended to go further, or if his kindness would stay gentle like this. His phone rang. He apologized, answered quickly, then looked back at me with a warm smile. He's gone. Now I can leave with peace of mind. He stood, slipped on his coat, voice low and calm. Don't worry. Rest well, Jessica. My heart skipped a beat, like wings fluttering in a quiet chest. I stared at him, standing there, the sunset glinting across his shoulders like a promise that didn't need words. William tilted his head, curious. What is it? I blinked, then smiled softly. Nothing. I just suddenly remembered a line. He raised an eyebrow, eyes sparkling. What line? I looked out the window. The Milan light was like water, gently flowing past narrow streets, past old wounds in my heart. In the sunlight, anyone can shine, I said, voice low, like whispering to myself. and my love will be for someone who deserves it." He didn't fully understand, but his cheeks flushed pink, a shy smile curling on his lips. William left, the door clicking shut softly behind him, leaving the apartment quiet again. Only the ticking clock and the warmth from the glass in my hands remained. I sat on the sofa. Every memory with David, every cut from Sarah, every lie, they all faded like morning mist. I was no longer that girl on the balcony, clinging to an empty wine glass, waiting for an apology. I was Jessica, free, standing in the Milan sun, where my heart was learning to heal, learning to open up to what was truly worth it. Love isn't the destination. It's the journey of finding light within yourself.